Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're tackling a huge question, maybe the biggest question for founders right now. In this crazy, hyper-competitive age of AI, how on earth do you build a business that actually lasts? Look, if you're thinking about starting a company, I'm guessing you felt this anxiety, right? It's like you picture your brand new startup as this tiny little castle, and it's just getting hammered, constantly under siege by these giants, the Googles, the OpenAIs, not to mention 1,000 other clones. So how do you even begin to defend yourself? So the term for that defense, that's what we call a moat. But here's the thing, and this quote nails it. A moat is a defensive thing. And you can't really defend something that doesn't exist yet. This brings up a super important question about timing, and that leads us right to our first big point. All right, so what is the very first step to building an AI company that can actually go the distance? I'll give you a hint. It is probably not what you think. Yeah, that's right. You don't start with a moat. Honestly, the single biggest mistake you can make is getting completely paralyzed, thinking about these 5-year defensive strategies before you've even written a single line of code or talked to one customer. Instead of all that, your one and only mission, your entire focus, should be on finding a customer with a problem that is truly painful. We're not talking about a nice to have. We're talking about a hair on fire, I might get fired if this isn't solved yesterday kind of problem. That's where you start. And once you've found that problem, this quote here from Varun at Windsor.ai just hits the nail on the head. He says, at the beginning, the only moat that startups have is really just speed. That's it. It's your secret weapon. Think of it as the 8th and honestly the most important power you have. I mean, just look at this. The difference here is just, wow. A big company gets totally bogged down in meetings, product specs, approvals. It can take them weeks, months, or even years to ship something. But a startup like Cursor, they were doing one-day sprints. Let that sink in. One day. They literally started the clock over every single morning. That kind of insane, relentless speed is a weapon that no incumbent can possibly match. Okay, so let's fast forward. You've done the hard work, you've built something valuable, something that's actually worth defending. Now what? Well, for that, we're going to turn to a classic, a timeless guide for strategy, Hamilton Helmer's 7 Powers framework. But we're rebooting it for the AI era. All right, let's dive into the 7 powers. First up, we have something called process power. This is all about going way beyond that weekend hackathon demo. We're talking about the painstaking, nitty-gritty engineering that turns a cool concept into something that is 99% reliable, mission-critical infrastructure. See, it's not just about the code. It's this whole web of know-how and operational excellence that you build up over time. Just imagine a system so finely tuned that if it goes down, a bank loses millions of dollars. You can't just copy that software. You'd have to copy the entire culture of precision that built it in the first place. Number 2 is cornered resources. Think of these as exclusive, treasure-like assets that you and only you have control over. And I'm not talking about just any data. This is truly proprietary data that you get from these unique customer workflows that nobody else can get their hands on. It could also be those super specialized models you fine-tuned on that data. Or it could be things like hard-won regulatory approvals or government contracts that literally just lock your competitors out of a market. Game over. Okay, third on the list is switching costs. And I love this one because it perfectly shows the shift from the old SaaS world to the new AI era. See, back in the day, the pain of switching was all about data migration. Yeah, it was a massive headache for sure, but it was doable. Today, the pain is so much deeper. Now it's about ripping out an AI agent that has literally become the central nervous system for a company's entire operation. It's not just some tool they use anymore. It's become the very way they work. Power number 4 is a big one, network economies. In the world of AI, this usually takes the form of this incredibly powerful data flywheel. The logic is so simple, but it's also profound. It goes like this. More users, that leads to more data, which you use to train better models, which of course creates a better product, which then attracts even more users. You see? It's not just a straight line of improvement. It's this virtuous cycle that starts spinning faster and faster, creating this unstoppable compounding advantage. The gap between you and everyone else doesn't just grow, it accelerates. Next up, we've got a really clever one, counter-positioning. This is when you make a strategic move that your competitor just can't copy without shooting themselves in the foot. A perfect example is pricing. You've got an old-school SaaS company, right? They're totally locked into a per-seat pricing model. But an AI-native startup can come in and offer usage-based pricing, so their success is perfectly aligned with the customer's results. If the big guy tries to copy that, they risk completely cannibalizing their own revenue stream. They're stuck. And this isn't just about the old guard versus the new startup. A really powerful form of this today is what you could call a second mover advantage. The AI space is moving so incredibly fast that an early winner's product can actually show you what the market really wants. I mean, look at Speak. They saw that Duolingo, which was super popular, was basically being used like a game. So Speak counterpositioned. They built a better product that was laser-focused on actual language practice using voice AI, hitting a weakness that was right there in the market leader's model. Number 6 is branding, and man, you should never, ever underestimate its power. A strong brand is basically a mental shortcut. It becomes the default choice in people's minds so they don't even have to think about it. And the most incredible recent example of this? ChatGPT. Think about it. Google had this massive head start, a global user base, one of the biggest brands on the planet, but it was OpenAI that completely captured the public's imagination and just became the brand for AI. And finally, we have scale economies. This is the kind of moat that exists when you have these massive upfront costs that lead to lower costs per unit once you get big enough. It creates this huge barrier to entry. In the AI world, you see this most clearly at the frontier model training layer. I mean, the fixed costs there are just astronomical. For someone new to even try to compete, they don't just need a smart idea, they need billions of dollars in capital just to get to the starting line. It is, quite literally, a moat built out of money. So, we've walked through the 7 powers, but now it's time for what is, without a doubt, the single most important takeaway from this entire thing. Honestly, this quote just says it all. The real danger here isn't that you're going to pick the wrong moat. No, the real danger is using all these fancy strategic frameworks as a really sophisticated way to procrastinate, as a reason to not even get started in the first place. So, for now, just forget the 7 powers. Seriously, your only job when you're starting out is to get from 0 to 1. That's it. Solve one painful problem for one specific customer. Everything else, all of it, comes later. And that really brings us to our final question. And this one is for you. You've just seen the 7 powerful modes you can build for the long term. But what is the one problem, the single specific problem that you can start solving today?